All right, I want to try to I'm gonna try to keep it short, but make a video on the process that I do to get to do the EGR cooler delete, fully delete it, not just turn it off essentially. I don't like doing that. I like removing the cooler. It's just one less part to fail. Coolant runs through it, it can leak, all that kind of stuff. I like to get rid of it. I bought this truck, so I've done this 3 times. The way that I do it, I've done it 3 times so far. I have yet to have a problem. I've done it on a truck that had less than 100,000 miles, which is on my YouTube channel. I've done it on another truck that I had after that one that I never recorded, and then the one that I have now, which has 170,000 miles. Previous owner had basically just did what a lot of people do. They turn it off essentially with a tune, delete the DPF, all that kind of stuff, but they leave the cooler there. I don't like doing that. Like I said, that's another part to fail, and you're not even using it, so why leave that to chance? So I deleted it. That one, so much rust was on the bolts and stuff like that, on the pipe that goes from your cooler to your exhaust manifold. So this was a perfect candidate to really test if the way that I do it truly works or not. I've seen people do it many different ways. Some have success, some don't. I've seen a guy do it with the cab off a truck and had a pneumatic hammer and just sitting there with a wrench on it and going at it. Well, that works amazingly if you have the room to do that. Not everybody has the room to do that. Not everybody can pull the cab. Not only that, you have to pull the intake manifold. I don't pull the intake manifold. I'm not going to do that unless I absolutely have to, which I have yet to have to do that. So the way that I do it works. This is on, I'm not sure what all years, I guess maybe 11 to 19 Powerstroke, 6-7 Powerstroke maybe. I know for sure 17 to 19s or 16 to 19s. I think in 20 they changed the bolt that they used. They're not using the different metals. So what I do first is I drove it so a week before I decided I was going to delete it. I drove it, and every day that I got home with it still heat soaked, I sprayed this on it, saturated the bolts. And these are the bolts I'm talking about are the bolts that go down from your EGR cooler, that pipe that runs down to your exhaust manifold. Those are the 2 that are prone to breaking all the time. I sprayed this. It's Aerocruel. This is the only penetrating oil I ever used. I used to build industrial engines, natural gas compressors, generators, all that kind of stuff that sits out in the fields, get rusted, all kinds of stuff. That stuff works. I have yet to find one better. So I sprayed it with that with the engine still hot for about a week prior. On the day of, I went out that morning, I saturated the bolts again with that stuff. I did not heat the truck up. A lot of people say that if you're not gonna heat the truck up, don't even attempt it, whatever. I didn't heat the truck up. I haven't done it on the 3 trucks that I've done so far. I haven't had a bolt break. And if it didn't break on this one, I'm confident that this works because of the amount of rust that was on there. I'm not gonna show you how to do it. This isn't a how-to. There's plenty of videos on there. I'm just trying to share the way that I do it to save somebody the trouble, hopefully. So sprayed them down, religiously before I started working on it. And then after that, I took a race punch. This is a Matco race punch. It's just a flat head meant for, like bearing races and stuff like that. It's long enough to where you can put this on the head of those 2 bolts that go down there to your exhaust manifold. And then you take a steel hammer and then you just hit it. And you're not trying to come from grandma's house and hit it and crack something, but you want to hit it with some force. You're trying to basically break that bolt free. You're trying to, and if it's seized up in there, if it's rusted to the exhaust manifold, you're trying to shock it and break that rust free. So then I alternate between this. This is just a little Milwaukee impact driver, not a lot of power to it, which is good. That's what you want. This going forward, tightening, and then 1/4 inch extensions, however, use the least amount of extensions that you need to use, and then a socket. I think it's an 8mm. I don't use wobbles or U-joints, whatever you're gonna call them. I haven't had to use one yet, and I've done great. This has worked for me. Haven't had to use a wobble or anything. So this worked for me. Put it in forward and then impact it. specifically use an impact. Don't use like a 1/2 inch impact. Really, I wouldn't even recommend a 3/8 impact. So this doesn't have enough power to snap that bolt. But what you're doing is, because of the way that these things work, the way that they impact, it's shocking that bolt. It's just sitting there kind of hitting that bolt while it's trying to turn it. And if you're tightening it more, then you're also helping break that bond between that bolt and then the hole itself, the threads. So I alternate, hit it with this for a few seconds, and then I come back with the race punch and then the hammer. And then I put the race punch on top of the head of the bolt. I sit there and smack it a few good times, go to the next one, smack it a few good times. And I do that probably 2 or 3 times with those. And once I'm done with that, then I spray it with some Aerochrol again, just for safe measure. And then what I used was this, just a little bitty 1/4 inch ratchet. I don't like to use anything bigger than a 1/4 inch, and I don't like to use anything that's long. The longer that your handle is, the more leverage and more torque that you can apply to that bolt. So you want to help yourself by limiting the amount of torque that you can apply to it. So like, use basically just your wrist. Don't be coming from the shoulder, whatever. You're gonna snap the bolt if you feel it binding up. But use something like this, something that just doesn't allow you to put a whole lot of torque to it. 1/4 inch extension, stuff like that, your socket, and then just start slowly backing it out. And then slowly start backing it out. And then whenever you get enough of a gap in there, spray some Kroll down in there, give it a couple seconds, let it kind of creep down, back it out again. Spray some more in there, keep backing it out. Take your time with it. If you start feeling it bind up, then, reverse it, put it back, tighten it up just a little bit to where it frees up again. Spray some more down in there, let it sit, and then again, back it all the way out. And like I said, I've done that 3 times so far, and it has worked every single time. I have not broken a bolt. I haven't had to drill anything out. I haven't had to pull the intake manifold. You don't have the room in there to get, a wrench down over the bolt and then have a pneumatic hammer down there on top of it, and, be turning the wrench while you're, using the air hammer. There's just not room for that unless you yank the intake manifold or pull the cab or whatever. So that didn't work. This is what I have found that works for me. Like I said, I'm 3 for 3 so far. And this truck that I have now, everything was so rusted, I was honestly scared to try it because I kind of figured this was gonna be the one I was gonna have to drill it out. I even bought the kit to repair it. If I did happen to break the bolt, didn't need it. This way works. You don't have to use a Milwaukee impact, but just use some kind of small impact driver that doesn't have enough torque to snap the bolt. I would say stick with a 1/4 inch ratchet, preferably a smaller one. The race punch is a big one because of the fact that it's not sharp. See, that's very dull. That has you're not gonna cut anything with that. That's not the point. What you're trying to do is just smack it to shock that bolt. So this has a race punch is perfect for that. It's flat, it's wide, it's not sharp. You're not gonna, put a gouge in the bolt or anything like that. There's no point. So it's wide, it's, wide both ways. So it has good surface area on the bolt head to be able to get a good, hit on it. Use the race punch. Use you a steel hammer. Don't use a dead blow or anything like that. You're not transferring enough force with that dead blow through that race punch to that bolt. And I fully believe that if you follow that, whenever you're doing your EGR delete, that you should not run into any problems. I'm not gonna say that you won't, because every situation is different, every truck is different. But like I said, I've tried it on 3 so far and it's worked. I'm very confident that if I tried it on a 4th, it would work on a 4th. So I know this video went on longer than I expected, but just trying to help everybody out. I hate seeing people having to do all that extra work just for one little bitty bolt, having to drill it out, stuff like that. So just give it a shot, try that. I think it'll do you some good.